The rain pounded against the windows like angry fists as Emma stood in the doorway of Jake's bedroom, her eyes fixed on his modest twin bed. "Your bed looks small," she observed, her voice barely audible above the storm. Jake, still processing the fact that his intimidating boss was in his home, in his bedroom, swallowed hard before replying, "It's all I need when you're raising a daughter on your own." Neither of them could have predicted how those simple words would change everything between them. If you're feeling that pull of curiosity already, hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories that capture those unexpected moments when life takes a surprising turn. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. Jake Matthews hadn't planned on having his boss over. Ever. Especially not Emma Winters, the notoriously demanding CEO of Winters Publishing who struck fear into the hearts of everyone at the office. But when the storm of the century hit their small town and Emma's car broke down just 2 blocks from his house, he couldn't exactly leave her stranded. His daughter Lily, all of 7 years old with her mother's eyes and his stubborn chin, had been the one to spot Emma through the window. "Daddy, there's a lady outside and she looks really wet and sad," she'd announced, peering through the curtains as rain lashed against the glass. Jake had recognized Emma immediately, the tailored suit now plastered to her body, her usually perfect hair hanging in wet strands around her face. He'd hesitated only briefly before grabbing an umbrella and heading out into the deluge. "Ms. Winters? Are you okay?" he'd called over the howling wind. Emma had turned, surprise flashing across her face before recognition set in. "Matthews? You live here?" "Yes, ma'am." "Car trouble?" She'd nodded, gesturing helplessly to her sleek BMW, now sitting useless at the curb. "Dead battery, I think. And my phone's dead too. Come inside. You can wait out the storm and call a tow truck from there." That had been 3 hours ago. Now the storm had intensified, the power had gone out, and the tow companies weren't sending anyone until morning. Which was how Emma Winters, the woman who had made an intern cry just last week, ended up touring Jake's modest 3-bedroom home by flashlight after Lily had insisted on showing her around. "And this is Daddy's room," Lily had announced proudly, pushing open the door to reveal Jake's Spartan bedroom. "He says it's boring because grown-ups are boring, but I think it's because he doesn't know how to decorate." Jake had winced, but Emma had laughed, actually laughed, and stepped inside to look around. That's when she'd made the comment about his bed. "It's all I need when you're raising a daughter on your own," he'd replied, and something in Emma's expression had shifted. "How long have you been a single dad?" she asked, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it at work. "4 years. Lily's mom left when she was 3. Said she wasn't cut out for motherhood after all." Jake didn't know why he was sharing this with his boss. Maybe it was the storm, or the darkness, or the strange intimacy of having her in his personal space. Emma nodded slowly. "That explains a lot." "What do you mean?" "Why you never stay for office happy hours. Why you're always the first to leave but somehow still get everything done. Why you have those pictures of a little girl all over your desk but never mention a wife." Jake shifted uncomfortably. "I try to keep my personal life separate from work." "I understand that better than most," Emma said, turning away from the bed to face him. In the dim glow of the flashlight, her features seemed softer, more human than they ever did under the harsh fluorescent lights of the office. "My father was a single dad too." Before Jake could respond, a crash of thunder shook the house, and a small scream came from down the hall. "Lily," Jake said, already moving. Emma followed him to Lily's room, where they found the little girl sitting up in bed, clutching her stuffed elephant with wide, frightened eyes. "The thunder monster is trying to get in," Lily whispered, tears threatening to spill. Jake sat on the edge of her bed, pulling her into a hug. "It's just a storm, sweetheart. Nothing to be afraid of." "But it's so loud," Lily protested, burying her face against his chest. To Jake's surprise, Emma stepped forward and sat on the other side of the bed. "You know what my dad used to tell me when I was scared of storms?" she asked Lily, who peeked out curiously. He said the thunder was just the clouds having a bowling party. A bowling party? Lily repeated, skepticism clear in her voice. Emma nodded seriously. The lightning is when they take pictures, and the thunder is when they knock down all the pins. They're just having fun up there, not trying to scare anyone. Lily considered this for a moment, then asked, do they get prizes if they win? Of course, Emma replied without missing a beat. Rainbow prizes. That's why sometimes after a storm, you see a rainbow. Jake watched in amazement as his fearsome boss spun an elaborate tale about cloud bowling leagues and thunder tournaments, each detail making Lily giggle and forget her fear. By the time Emma finished, Lily's eyelids were drooping. Will you stay until I fall asleep? Lily asked Emma, not Jake, which surprised them both. Emma glanced at Jake, who nodded slightly. Of course I will, she told Lily, awkwardly patting the girl's hand. Jake slipped out to check on the storm and call the power company again. When he returned 20 minutes later, he found Emma still sitting beside Lily's bed, but the little girl was fast asleep. Emma was just watching her, a strange expression on her face. She's out, Jake whispered from the doorway. Emma startled slightly, then carefully stood up. She's a wonderful child, she said as she joined Jake in the hallway. You've done an amazing job with her. Thank you, Jake replied, genuinely touched. That means a lot. They made their way back to the living room, where Jake had set up candles and a battery-powered lantern. The storm continued to rage outside, rain pelting against the windows in sheets. The power company says it could be out all night, Jake informed her. And the roads are flooded in several places. I'm afraid you might be stuck here until morning. Emma sighed, running a hand through her now dry but decidedly unstyled hair. I'm sorry to impose like this. It's not an imposition, Jake assured her. Though I should warn you that the guest room is currently Lily's art studio, so unless you want to sleep surrounded by glitter and half-finished papier-mâché projects, your options are the couch or... He trailed off, suddenly aware of how inappropriate it would be to offer his boss his bed. The couch is fine, Emma said quickly. I've slept in worse places. Jake raised an eyebrow. Hard to imagine the great Emma Winters sleeping anywhere but five-star accommodations. A shadow crossed Emma's face. You'd be surprised, she said quietly. Then, as if catching herself, she straightened her shoulders. I mean, I've had my share of business trips gone wrong. Airport floors, train stations, that sort of thing. But Jake had seen something in that brief moment of vulnerability, a glimpse behind the polished facade she presented to the world. It made him curious. Can I get you anything? Tea? I think I have some wine somewhere. Wine would be nice, Emma admitted. If it's not too much trouble. Jake found a bottle of red he'd been saving for something. He couldn't remember what anymore. He poured 2 glasses and handed one to Emma, who had settled on the couch, her legs tucked under her in a way that seemed too casual, too comfortable for the woman who stalked the office hallways like a panther. To unexpected storms, he toasted, raising his glass. An unexpected shelter, she replied, clinking her glass against his. They sipped in silence for a moment, the only sounds the rain against the windows and the occasional rumble of thunder, now more distant. So, Emma finally said, 4 years as a single dad. That can't be easy. Jake shrugged. It's not. But Lily makes it worth it. And dating? Is there time for that in the life of Jake Matthews, senior editor and full-time dad? The question caught him off guard. Not really, he admitted. Between work and Lily, there's not much time left. And honestly, most women aren't exactly thrilled about becoming an instant mom. Emma nodded thoughtfully. I can understand that. It takes a special kind of person to step into a ready-made family. What about you? Jake asked, surprising himself with his boldness. The office rumor mill says you're married to your job, but surely the great Emma Winters has time for a personal life? Emma's laugh was short and without humor. The rumor mill gives me too much credit. I'm not married to my job, I'm hiding in it. Hiding from what? She took a long sip of wine before answering. From making the same mistakes my mother made. From ending up with someone who will leave when things get hard. She shook her head. Sorry, that was inappropriately personal. I asked, Jake pointed out. And we're not exactly in a professional setting right now. Emma looked around the cozy living room, with its mismatched furniture and walls covered in Lily's artwork. No, we're certainly not. She smiled, a real smile that transformed her face. It's nice, actually. You're home. It feels lived in. Loved. It's nothing special, Jake said, suddenly self-conscious about the worn couch and the toys scattered in the corner. That's where you're wrong, Emma said softly. This is everything special. A home where a child feels safe and loved. Where there are memories in every corner. She ran her finger along the rim of her wine glass. My father tried to give me this, but he worked so much that we barely saw each other. Our house was just a place we slept. Jake studied her face in the candlelight. Is that why you're so driven? Because of your father? Emma's eyes met his, surprised. No one's ever made that connection before. But yes, partly. I watched him work himself to death trying to provide for me, and I swore I'd be successful enough that I'd never have to make those kinds of sacrifices. Her laugh was bitter. Ironic that I ended up making exactly the same sacrifices, just without a child to show for it. It's never too late to change course, Jake suggested gently. Says the man who clearly has his priorities straight, Emma replied. I've seen how you work, Jake. You're efficient, focused, and brilliant at what you do. But the moment the clock hits 5, you're out the door to pick up your daughter. You don't apologize for it, you don't make excuses. You just do what needs to be done. I'm surprised you noticed. I notice everything about my employees, Emma said. Especially the ones with talent. Jake felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the wine. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Don't let it go to your head, she warned, but her smile took the sting out of her words. They talked for hours, the storm gradually subsiding outside as they moved from wine to tea, from professional discussions to personal revelations. Jake learned that Emma had climbed her way up from a childhood in poverty, that her father had died just as her career was taking off, that she lived alone in a penthouse apartment with views she rarely had time to appreciate. Emma learned about Jake's failed marriage, about his struggles to be both mother and father to Lily, about his secret dream of writing children's books inspired by the stories he told his daughter. You should do it, Emma said when he mentioned his writing. Submit something to the children's division. Not to me, that would be a conflict of interest, but I could point you in the right direction. I couldn't, Jake protested. It's just a hobby. Every published author started as a hobbyist, Emma pointed out. And from what you've described, your stories sound charming. Lily clearly loves them. She's biased, Jake laughed. She thinks everything I do is amazing. Children are the harshest critics, Emma countered. If she loves your stories, they must be good. The conversation flowed easily, surprisingly so given their usual professional dynamic. Jake found himself forgetting that this woman was his boss, the feared CEO who could fire him with a word. Instead, he saw Emma, intelligent, wounded, surprisingly funny Emma. It was nearly 2 a.m. when they finally ran out of words, comfortable silence settling between them. The storm had passed, leaving only a gentle patter of rain against the windows. I should try to get some sleep, Emma said reluctantly. And you too. I'm sure Lily will be up early. At the crack of dawn, Jake confirmed with a rueful smile. I'll get you some blankets for the couch. He returned with an armful of bedding to find Emma standing by the window, looking out at the rain-slicked street. She'd removed her suit jacket and stood in just her silk blouse and skirt, her feet bare on his hardwood floor. Something about the sight of her like that, vulnerable, human, made his heart skip. "Here you go," he said, setting the blankets on the couch. "It's not the most comfortable, but it's better than an airport floor." "Thank you," Emma said, turning from the window. "For everything. Most people at the office would have left me out in the rain." "I'm not most people." "No," she agreed softly. "You're not." There was a moment, brief but electric, when Jake thought she might step closer, when he thought he might do something incredibly stupid like kiss his boss. But then Lily's voice called from down the hall. "Daddy? I'm thirsty." The moment broke. Jake stepped back, clearing his throat. "Duty calls." "Good night, Emma." "Good night, Jake," she replied, and he could have sworn there was regret in her voice. Jake attended to Lily, getting her water and tucking her back in. When he returned to his own room, he lay awake for a long time, thinking about Emma Winters sleeping on his couch, about the woman behind the CEO, about possibilities he'd never considered before tonight. Morning came too soon, sunlight streaming through the windows and the power finally restored. Jake found Emma already awake, her hair damp from a shower, wearing the same clothes from yesterday but somehow looking as put together as she did at the office. "Good morning," she said, a hint of awkwardness in her voice. "I hope you don't mind, I made coffee." "Not at all," Jake replied, accepting the mug she offered him. "Did you sleep okay?" "Better than expected," she said. "Your couch has hidden depths." Before Jake could respond, Lily came bounding into the room, still in her pajamas, her hair a wild tangle. "You're still here," she exclaimed, throwing herself at Emma with unexpected familiarity. To Jake's surprise, Emma didn't flinch away. Instead, she bent down to Lily's level. "I am. The storm was too bad for me to leave last night." "Did you have a cloud bowling party sleepover?" Lily asked seriously. Emma laughed. "Something like that." "Can we have pancakes?" Lily asked, turning to Jake. "Since we have a guest." "If our guest has time," Jake hedged, looking at Emma. Emma checked her watch, then looked at Lily's hopeful face. "I think pancakes sound perfect," she said, and Lily cheered. Breakfast was a surprisingly relaxed affair. Emma helped mix the batter while Jake manned the stove, and Lily chattered away about school and her friends and her upcoming birthday. Jake kept waiting for Emma to check her phone, to make excuses about needing to get to the office, but she seemed content to sit at his kitchen table, listening to his daughter's stories with genuine interest. It wasn't until they were washing the dishes that reality intruded. Emma's phone, now charged, buzzed with a series of messages. "The tow truck will be here in 30 minutes, she said, reading the screen. "And I have about 50 emails to deal with." "Back to the real world," Jake said, trying to keep the disappointment from his voice. "Back to being Ms. Winters, CEO, Emma agreed with a small smile. "Though I think I might like being just Emma occasionally." "I like just Emma," Jake said before he could stop himself. Emma's eyes met his, something unspoken passing between them. "Thank you for last night," she said softly. "For the shelter, the conversation, for..." She glanced toward Lily, who was drawing at the table, "for showing me what I've been missing." "Anytime," Jake replied, meaning it more than he should. When the tow truck arrived, Jake walked Emma to the door. "Lily insists."